Power due to a court order after problems at multiple polling locations. And when we say all, we mean every single one of the 782 polling sites across the county. You're looking live at the Count Center at election headquarters in NRG Arena.
We have team coverage at NRG with a look at the lawsuit over those problems and the impact it is having on ballot counting tonight. We start with Cheryl Mercedes and the lawsuit. Cheryl.
Hey, lawsuit, a big deal, dropped today around 4 o'clock in Harris County by the Texas Organizing Project after numerous issues at polling places across Harris County caused delays at polling places where folks said some of them waited an hour, 2 hours, and in some cases 2.5 to 3 to vote, some having to go to other locations. If you take a look, that court document cited 10 locations that we know of. At this point, 10 locations that experienced problems where voters had to wait in longer lines or go somewhere else. Now, this cited things like unavailable keys and broken machines. A judge allowed voters to cast their ballots until 8 o'clock because of that, but the Texas Supreme Court issued a stay. So it's unclear now when those votes cast between 7 and 8 o'clock tonight will actually be counted, and that's got some folks worried.
We got here 7:45 and was explained to it's going to be a provisional vote. We'll see if it happens. And then we got inside the door and basically the Supreme Court said, nope, not going to happen. So wasted about whatever time it is, wasted all that time.
How does it feel?
Doesn't feel great at all. It's very upsetting. I'm very livid.
You can hear it in his voice there, a voter waiting to vote and then not sure of what will come after this evening. We will keep you posted on that. Meantime, I spoke with Ashley Harris. She's an attorney with the ACLU, and she told me that this lawsuit filed today at 4 o'clock was specifically based on issues with delays and openings at some of those polling locations in Harris County. It had nothing to do, this is interesting, with the paper shortage issue that came later in the day. Glenn, Mia, back to you.
All right, that certainly explains it a little clearer. Cheryl, thank you.
With all the difficulties and delays, let's turn now to Adam Bennett with what's happening at election headquarters at this very moment. Adam?
Well, Mia, because of that delay, the count is really picking up later than usual. And within the last hour, it's got a lot busier here at NRG Arena. As of just a few minutes ago, according to the election administrator, 305 of the 782 election day polling locations have returned equipment and ballots. They've certified 99 of those and moved those to tabulation. 32 locations have been tabulated so far. The first election judges drove into NRG Arena parking lot with their equipment around 9. They are driving in from 782 polling sites spread out over a land area larger than Rhode Island. It's then brought inside to NRG Arena, and at that point, just two machines, tabulate all of those electronic cards that are holding 333,000 votes that were cast on Election Day.
And if we're lucky and those 782 get themselves all into us by midnight, then we'll be reading V drives from midnight until we get them all complete.
So at this point, the latest count, 477 of those 782 polling locations are still outstanding. We're still waiting for the equipment and the ballots to come back, but the administrator tells me those numbers are changing minute by minute. Things are really starting to pick up now. So they will be updating, Harris County's election office will be updating the count every hour on the hour until they have tabulated all of these unofficial results from Election Day. Mia.
All right, Adam, thank you. As we mentioned, it is a huge undertaking having to drive all the ballots from each voting location in Harris County to the election headquarters where Adam is at NRG.
And KHOU 11 Investigates wanted to see the process firsthand. Jeremy Rogowski live at NRG tonight with where he started and how long it took. A little bit longer than expected, Jeremy.
Sure did, Mia. Call it the long and winding road to tally up all those Harris County votes. Here we are 3 hours after the polls closed, 4 hours after they were supposed to close. And behind me, look at this sea of cars. Adam Bennett told us what's going on inside NRG Arena. This is the drop-off site outside NRG. All of these vehicles contain election returns. They are coming from the 782 polling locations, and they are driven here by polling presiding judges, by county employees, and by law enforcement officers. Why is it taking so long? A big reason is the sheer size of Harris County. Take a look at this video we shot earlier today. A Harris County Sheriff's deputy we tracked from one of the farthest locations from NRG, a school up in the Kingwood area. He loaded up election returns and voting equipment just around 9 o'clock, and he hit the road about 9:02. It took that deputy an hour and 8 minutes to make the 36-mile trip here to NRG and to get through this line. And as we heard from Adam Bennett, my colleague, we still have hundreds of cars from polling locations still yet to arrive here. Once they do, they have to be processed. All the equipment has to be validated and certified before it actually gets to Election Central Count. And again, as Adam said, they can only read 2 digital drives at a time. It takes about a minute to read each. You have 800 polling locations. Do the math, Len and Mia, that's 400 minutes, 6.5 hours in total. It's going to be a long night still.
It certainly is. Jeremy Rogowski, thank you. Elections Administrator Clifford Tatum, no doubt under a tremendous amount of pressure tonight to make sure every vote is counted and counted properly.
Yeah, with all the legal back and forth. And someone who knows the kind of pressure he is under is a person who used to be in charge of running the elections, former Harris County Clerk Chris Collins.
You're going to have your challenges, you're going to have your hiccups. Nothing that I've seen tonight falls way outside of the norm. But of course, you always think, maybe we could have foreseen this, maybe we could have gotten ahead of this potential issue. And so, you know, look, we want to operate with grace, and ultimately we just want to make sure that folks who showed up to vote on this day, when everyone's supposed to be equal, when everyone is supposed to have the same right, the same opportunity, that if they showed up to vote at a Harris County voting center, that they were able to have their vote counted.
You can see more of Chris Holland's interview on our website, KHOU.com.
Some people trying to vote after 7 tonight were not successful. Tiffany Craig spent most of the day at Baker Ripley on Navigation on the east side, talking to 2 would-be voters who were turned away.
First, let me set the scene for you. We're at Baker Ripley, which is one of the polling locations on the east side of town that had a lot of problems this morning. A lot of people were lined up right over here before 7 o'clock waiting to get in, but they couldn't get in for a few hours because, according to election officials, what was missing was a key to open up all of the polling equipment. So fast forward to tonight, with that extra hour of voting, a number of people showed up and they wanted to cast their ballots before 8 o'clock. So we were standing out here waiting for the last of the voters to come out, and I noticed that a group came out together. I actually thought they were poll workers that were leaving at the end of the night. No, they were voters that showed up during the 7 o'clock hour hoping to get in with provisional ballots and came out here and said, no, they kicked us out. Listen.
We're in there waiting in line, but at 8 o'clock, the people that hadn't voted had us fill out an affidavit. So the affidavit was filled out so we can vote, and they would be casted and counted. And when we were about to go and get and vote, the Supreme Court, they got some message over the phone or some system saying the Supreme Court had revoked it and saying that no more, that we couldn't vote. So 11 of us that were waiting in there to vote that had filled out affidavit didn't get a chance to vote.
What's your reaction to that?
That's not fair. That's not fair at all because, you know, I'm a U.S. citizen and I have the right to vote, okay? And I've been here, I vote every election. In every election I vote, and this never happened to me, it's the first time. And I don't think it's right.
Does it make you question the system?
Yeah, it's like they're saying, so like some kind of, so in other words, if someone wins that I wasn't going for, that I wasn't going to vote for, I don't think that's fair to the one that I was going for because my vote is not going to count for that person. And I was here, ready to vote with my identification, my voter's registration card and everything.
And so we're in line, we could see the machines. I mean, like where I'm right here and the machines are where the bleachers are. And she stands there and there's 2 people in front of me, a guy, me, and 2 other guys, and the same look that I had. They said, you can't vote, and we need the forms back. I said, are you kidding me? You come, and like I said, you can't kill the messenger. I get that. Nothing got ugly in there, nobody profaned, nothing like that. It was just very upsetting. And they're like, you got to give back the form. And I'm like, you kidding me? And like I was saying early, it was just that you get all this and advertisement and billboards and people don't vote enough, especially, you know, the Hispanic culture in my community. They don't vote and da-da-da. So I really feel important is to vote. So I come out here because I really wanted to vote and who I wanted to vote for. And it counts, because I was telling somebody earlier, how can you complain about this and these things and that, but do you go vote? That's right. So your vote matters. Your voice matters. It could be that one vote that matters. I'm going to try not to cry. And then you tell me I can't? You see what I'm saying? Just that look, we need these forms back. You're not going to be able to vote. Wow. Okay. So now I get to go home, and I heard a lot of people calling family members. I'll be home soon, but they were still happy they were going to get to vote. So now, and they were very upset too. Like I said, nothing got ugly, nothing like that. It was just really like a punch in the gut.
You can hear in their voices just how disappointing it was for them tonight. Add to that all of the people that were here this morning who didn't get to vote either. They had a lot of issues out here at Baker Ripley. Here's hoping we're going to get some answers in the next few days.
All right, Tiff, thank you. Let's check the early results with the biggest race in Texas right now for Texas governor. Beto O'Rourke, big name recognition, thought he could give Abbott a run for his money. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. Greg Abbott declared the winner tonight. You see 56% to 43% in this polling here. And we have team coverage on the governor's race. Gerald Harris is with O'Rourke's camp in El Paso. We begin with Marcelino Benito in McAllen, where the governor, who's going to have a third term, and watching all the results come in. Marcelino?
Well, and Governor Greg Abbott really felt confident for most of the day. His campaign said they felt very good about where they were, but I can tell you no one thought it was going to be this type of blowout win. It was a blowout here in South Texas, and he wanted to be here, he told his supporters tonight, because this is where he launched his campaign back in January in McAllen. He won his primary night victory in McAllen, and he made it clear when he came out to address his supporters tonight that he wanted to be no other place than here in South Texas. He says his victory in Texas and across the state really sends a strong message to his supporters and to the rest of the country that the GOP will invest in a place like South Texas, that it can pull Hispanic voters away from the Democrats. Governor Abbott outperformed how he did here in South Texas compared to how he did in 2018. He did better this time around. Take a listen to what else he told his supporters when he declared victory over Beto O'Rourke.
So I ran this campaign for Texans to have safer streets, for homeowners who are burdened with skyrocketing property taxes, for our oil field workers who beg for me to protect their jobs, for parents who just want to choose the school that's best for their child, and for small business owners who thank me in every location I went to for keeping their jobs open and businesses open during the time of COVID.
And tomorrow we're told by Governor Abbott's campaign that they will hold a roundtable with members of his campaign. They'll discuss and really assess what happened here and really brief the media on what this third term will look like, what his priorities are, and what will happen in the next few weeks as he prepares to assume office again and resume his third term as Texas governor. That again happening here in McAllen as well tomorrow morning at 9. We will be there and we will bring you the latest throughout the day. Back to you.
Governor Abbott victorious tonight. Marcelino Benito there with him along the way. Thank you so very much. Let's turn now to Gerald Harris, who is with Beto O'Rourke's camp in his hometown of El Paso, dealing with a loss tonight. Gerald.
Yeah, there was a lot of positivity heading into tonight for the Beto O'Rourke's campaign, but there simply was not enough votes out there to overcome Governor Greg Abbott's stronghold on Texas. Now, Beto O'Rourke called Governor Greg Abbott about 10 to 15 minutes ago, congratulated him and conceded and said he wants the best for Texas and wished him well. O'Rourke, in his concession speech, tried to paint a positive moment going forward. He said, I don't know what my role will be or yours will be going forward, but I'm in this fight for life. He also says he and his campaign gave all that they could to this election, outraising Governor Greg Abbott, but simply did not get enough supporters to the polls. Take a listen to Beto O'Rourke.
In a state that has this level of voter suppression and voter intimidation, the hardest in the nation in which to cast a ballot or to get your name on the rolls to be registered to vote in the first place, we made those who've been shut out from this democracy our priority. And when I talk about those 5 million doors and the millions more phone calls made, we were targeting those who had themselves been the targets for disenfranchisement.
O'Rourke needed a massive showing in blue strongholds, young voters, college voters, Latino and African American voters, but the coalition was just not there tonight. Supporters we spoke with say they are disappointed, but they remain hopeful. We attempted to ask Beto O'Rourke what he needed to do tonight to secure victory, but he said that he was thankful for the supporters that showed up on the campaign trail and showed up tonight in El Paso. In El Paso, Gerald Harris, KHOU 11 News.
The winners and losers declared, and now a closer look tonight at the governor's race.
Yeah, Grace White in the newsroom tonight. Grace, you're looking at specific counties and how they are voting so far.
Yes, Lynn and Mia, here's how it's all breaking down. These are statewide results. Even at this late hour, guys, we are still seeing votes trickle in across the state. But the spread is what's really interesting. 13 points as it stands right now. Governor Greg Abbott sits at 56%, Beto O'Rourke at 43%. And why that's significant? 13 points is the same spread we saw back in 2018 when Lupe Valdez challenged Governor Greg Abbott. So 13 points back then, 13 points as it stands on our big board right now. Let's look down ballot at some other races. Here's the race for Lieutenant Governor. Patrick on top, 55%, ahead of Collier's 43%. And let's take a look at the race for Attorney General. Paxton at 54%, Garza at 43%. Now I want to give you some context. Let's take a look back at 2018 and let's look at the places where O'Rourke was strong. He was strong here in Harris and Fort Bend counties. He was also strong up in the Dallas area, Tarrant County. Pay attention to this one. It was blue last time around. And then on the border, he did well. His message resonating with voters back in the Senate race in 2018. Fast forward, though, to today. You can see still strong, although we're waiting for a big chunk of the vote here at home in Harris and Fort Bend. But again, still strong here locally. Up here in the Dallas area, Tarrant County, remember this was blue last time. This is one of the big stories of the night. It flipped this time around to red. The governor at 51% in Tarrant County to O'Rourke's 47%. Again, that's up in the Dallas area. And then take a look down here on the border. This is also very interesting. Still a lot of blue there. These border counties leaning blue, although I will say we have seen in the congressional race, it looks like Republicans will pick up a congressional race there after the redistricting was done there on the border. But again, the majority of these counties still leaning blue, even though with those counties leaning blue in South Texas, still here on the big board, a 13-point spread between the governor and Beto O'Rourke. Guys, back to you.
All right, with a deep dive and analysis there, Grace White up in our KHOU 11 Election Center. Want to review some of those numbers again that Grace has shared, taking a look at the race for Lieutenant Governor. Second in command in the state of Texas, Dan Patrick with 55% of the vote. Mike Collier trailing behind with 43%.
Yeah, Collier's a former Republican. He thought he could pull some Republican voters. Didn't look like it was going to happen. Attorney General Ken Paxton way ahead of former civil rights attorney Rochelle Garza. She is from Brownsville, up by 11 points here.
And it's so interesting, you know, Paxton facing all of those legal challenges and still pulling ahead.
Not bothering him at all.
Yeah. In Harris County, the biggest local race of all, talking about the race for Harris County Judge, Democrat Lena Hidalgo, challenged by Republican Alexandra Mealer. And this is a tight one still. Now, granted, we don't have a lot of our votes in yet. This is just with 4% reporting. Lena Hidalgo with a slight lead at 51%. Alexandra Mealer with 49%.
Yeah, here it is 11:19. We probably have 300 or so plus polling locations in Harris County that have not been counted yet. So we got to continue to watch this race. A lot of votes to come in.
We have team coverage on both sides of the Harris County Judge race. Lauren Tallarico is with Mealer's camp at Kirby Ice House. But let's start with Jason Miles at Chapman and Kirby at Hidalgo's watch party. Jason.
Hey there, guys. Yeah, I'm standing in front of the stage where Lena Hidalgo is expected to speak. We were told by members of her campaign that that would be around 11 o'clock. It's now, what, a quarter past 11 or so. This kind of stuff happens on an election night, but we understand her private event was not too far from this location, so we expect her to be here fairly soon. It may be too early for her to declare outright victory, but as you mentioned, she is ahead according to the early voting results. And one of the things we will be asking her about is how this election went off. After all, she created the election administration position during her first term in office. And again, we have an election with some issues coming up, but earlier today she said folks need to be patient. A lot of things can happen, and there's a lot of votes to count. We'll be watching things from here. For now, live in Edo, Jason Miles, KHOU 11 News.
All right, Jason Miles with the update there from Hidalgo's camp. Thank you.
Yeah, Lauren Tallarico with Alexander Mueller's camp at Kirby Ice House. Still early, a long night ahead, Lauren.
Yes, and I can tell you that this crowd is not as rowdy as they were just a couple hours ago. It is getting late. Alexander Mueller was here tonight, although I don't see her here right now, but she seemed calm and confident. Now, one of the big standouts about this candidate is she seems to really draw support from a broad spectrum of people. Endorsements include several police officers unions, the Houston Chronicle, and even former Democratic City Council member Sue Lovell. Tonight, Mueller spoke to us and said that she is feeling good.
So I think we're all very excited. You know, Republicans typically vote election day, and so to be this tight, we have even a few of our judicial races that they're up, but they're all neck and neck right now, and so we'll just be waiting for the votes to roll in this evening, but very excited to see that so much people really resonated with our message so far.
The West Point and Harvard Law School grad says her #1 priority is cutting crime, which includes hiring 1,000 additional law enforcement officers, as well as getting new judges in. Now, as we've been saying, it is still early when it comes to counting these votes. Only 4% are in. This is a neck-and-neck race. If it's going to be called tonight, I doubt it. People might be making their way home soon and have to find out tomorrow. We'll have to see. Len and Mia, back to you.
Yeah, unless it's a late night crowd and they decide to stay a few hours. Lauren, thank you. Several other county judges are on the ballot tonight in Brazoria County. Matt Sebesta, the incumbent over Jim Mooney, way ahead in this race.
And down in Fort Bend County, incumbent Democrat KP George is facing off against Republican challenger Trevor Nels, who happens to be the twin brother of Congressman Troy Nels. And it looks like with early voting numbers thus far in this race, it is a close one. KP George with 51% of the vote, as opposed to Nels 49%.
All right, a little further south, down in Galveston County, the incumbent Mark Henry dominant in this race against William H. King III. Not very close at all and not unexpected.
We have plenty more election coverage ahead, but in the meantime, scan the QR code on your screen right now and bookmark the link on your phone so you can get real-time results throughout the night and tomorrow as well as the results come in.